you have an article on your Substack that was, about how what exorcism taught you about gender ideology.
We have something called the symptom pool, which has existed. Throughout time it changes. Whatever is fashionable at that time. So if a woman in the 1920s was depressed, she would be sent for fresh air. And told that she needs country air and those kinds, or that she might have some sort of wandering womb, which comes from ancient Greece, which is where the word hysteria comes from. Hysterical women, and like their womb is going up in their head, and they would use magnets to bring them down, and all sorts of crazy things like that. If you happen to be born in some parts of the impoverished suburbs of Argentina, where I went, and you have those kinds of issues, then you are told that you have a demon inside you. That is a very real demon, and we have to do all sorts of prayers and throw things at you and all the stuff to get it out so you feel better. In the West right now, if you go to a doctor and you have all of those conditions, you will be told, not necessarily immediately by the doctor, but by your friends, by the fashions of the time, that you are in the wrong body. There is something wrong with your body. This is unbelievably similar to the exorcism stuff in Argentina. In both cases, these are mostly, particularly young women, 15 to 20 years old, who are really struggling with who they are, with
Hmm.
suddenly sexuality happening to them, like
Yeah.
happening to them, with the way men will gaze at them, which is something that happened, and then told that it's wrong to acknowledge. It's a really confusing time for any young boy or girl, but I think particularly girls with dealing with puberty and that kind of stuff. So that's a tough time. A lot of girls get anorexia, bulimia. Those, how
Yeah.
do you suddenly explain those things? Well, we don't know. And that's also the issue that I think people have with atheists. They say to me, well, what happened before the Big Bang? What happened with it? I don't know. We don't know. And humans are not built that way. We're built to know. We have to find that elephant and then find the reason why afterwards. So they were just so similar, the demographics of young girls in Argentina that I found and those in the West, that I thought this is no coincidence. We have a similar thing happening in it was Hong Kong with anorexia, for example. They didn't have the word. It wasn't even a thing. And then there was a high profile case about 20 years ago where a girl died from that. Again, I think it's that demographic of
Yeah.
young girls with these things. And journalists started looking at American and British movies, and they coined it anorexia. Suddenly that shot through the roof. Everybody had it. Social contagion. So you've got this age that's a very difficult age, and whether it manifests itself as anorexia, exorcism, transgenderism, wandering womb, basically what we're saying is this is really hard and we don't know how to treat it or what it is. Some sort of depression, who knows what, and that's it.
How um how do you understand the timing of this transgender hysterical craze? Because that's what it feels like. It feels like all of a sudden in the past 5 to 10 years, we went from the world of the before times where, an SNL skit with a bunch of guys dressed like women
Mm-hmm.
would be like a joke, and it was like guys and dolls, and like really not much had changed about our perception of this, that yes, there's people who cross dress, yes, there are some people who almost entirely male who feel they're only comfortable in this acting as if they are a woman,
Mm.
to 30% of Californians
Mm.
saying that they're LGBTQ, which is like impossible. And it's obviously different than in Idaho, so that's probably
Mm.
not really real.
Yeah.
It's cultural. But this all happened 5 minutes ago. This is like brand new, global, but especially it seems like in the Anglosphere, in like America, UK, uh,
Canada.
Canada, Australia, New Zealand seem to
Mm.
be particularly
Yeah.
afflicted by
Ireland.
this.
They love it. In Ireland.
So why? Why now?
Well, the feminists didn't help, and now and I don't like that. A lot of people get very bitter, and they'll say, "Well, you've made your bed. Look what you've done," that kind of thing. And that wasn't what the feminists wanted. But they went away from truth, which is they, for a long time, started saying that men and women are equal in every single way. And I've spoken to several feminists who were saying that at the time, who now say they regret that.
Hmm.
They say we shouldn't have said that. That wasn't true. We were trying to get parity, and what they were trying to get was equity. Really, they were not noticing the differences between the biologies, the biological differences of the sexes. They're just totally different. And there are similarities as well. But
Yeah, men and women are like two bell curves, but they're offset a little along lots of different dimensions, and it
yeah,
turns out that that's mostly the same.
yeah.
But where it's different, it's often different fairly dramatically.
The detransitioners that I've interviewed have given me a great insight into some of the biological and physical differences. So one of them was saying that when she took testosterone, she found she couldn't cry. Right. So I always thought crying, the reason men cry less than women, was because like a social construct, like men are told be a big man, women are told don't. But she was saying, no, just having the testosterone in me made me not able to cry. So there is something about our
Hmm.
biology that makes one sex much more capable of crying. Not that men don't cry as well, of course.
Do Italians have low T then? Because like I'm like a blubbery mess.
Yeah, you were crying when I arrived.
No, but seriously though, I'm a pretty emotional guy, so that's interesting.
Yeah, but this is outliers, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
that. There's that meme, isn't there, of some people who don't get averages, and they say like the average height is 5'7", but I'm 5'9". That can't be true, you know. But yeah,
Sure.
I try to cry, and I find that I so want to that as soon as I start crying, I'm so happy that I'm crying that
You
the
know, it
crying
ends.
it ends.
Oh,
So
oh, oh, oh.
yeah, exactly. The Larry David, the son of Larry David. Were you trying to do Larry David or not?
No, I
It just
just I don't know.
it came with Larry David. I liked it. But yeah, so the feminists didn't help, of course. We, I think students as well. That sort of the coddling of what's Jonathan's
Yeah,
book
coddling
called?
of the American mind,
I mean,
social media.
quite.
I mean, a lot can be laid at the foot of social media for like the psychotic contagions we have.
Yeah, social media and well, just parents being told to tell their kids they're amazing. The other thing social media does is it allows you to see the whole world. Suddenly your tribe goes from being like the 20 kids at school. Well, maybe you're doing pretty well compared to the 20 kids at school or whatever. Well, social media and the internet, now you're competing with like the entire country. So you start off by your parents, everybody telling you you're the most wonderful, amazing person in the world.
Yeah.
You get to university, you realize that's not true. There's this, again, the book, The Status Game. I love this. Will Storr's book. It really resonated with me. Everything we do in life, pretty much everything, is done for status, to give us a better status. Our body, again, it's evolutionary biology, but it's that your body will incentivize you, so it feels good inside you. It actually feels good when you do something that will get you more status. It feels bad when you do something that will ruin your status. So lying or keeping secrets feels bad. It actually feels bad inside you because that's your body warning you, don't do this too often, you will lose status, people won't like you. Now, he says there are three main kinds of status. The main and best route is success. If you were the one who built the wheel or made fire, everybody's giving you food, acclaim, women, or if you're a woman, men, if they want that, I don't know. They don't seem to. And then all the things, you're getting all the things, shelter. But only a very tiny percentage of society can be successful because that's how success works. If everyone was, then the successful ones would be the ones at the top of that. So you can only ever have a small percentage of people who are successful. But everybody wants status. We all live for that. So what are the other ways? Well, one of them is dominance. That's what people call toxic masculinity now,
Sure.
right? But a lot of women exhibit those kinds of things as well, and a lot of men don't.
Yeah.
But
Women tend to be more socially aggressive and men more physically aggressive, but the
yeah,
levels of aggressiveness, as I understand it, are pretty similar.
yeah, exactly. Well, it's just they're just
I will
different
punch you in
ways.
the face.
Mm.
If we're two women, I will spread horrible rumors that you are a
Yeah.
whore
Well, that's
or something.
exactly that's the third type. So dominance is the second one, and it's obviously not as nice as success, but you can't succeed. Well, you're going to dominate, and you're going to bring down that head monkey, and you'll be the monkey in charge now. But a lot of women and a lot of men as well just are not naturally dominant. They're not physically built that way. They don't have it. That third way is virtue, right? So virtue signaling. If you were the guy in the tribe who showed how nice they were and was sharing all the food and so on, you would get more food and you would get more shelter and those kinds of things. The difference with the interesting thing about virtue is that you didn't have to actually be virtuous. You just needed to give off the impression that you were. So yeah, I'm giving everyone food all the time, but actually you're like keeping it for yourself. If you get away with that, you've done well. You know, you're climbing the ranks. Anyway, you've got a huge generation now comparing themselves with the entire country who couldn't possibly be successful compared to like the top percentage, right? The 99% are nowhere near as successful. Yet they were told all by their parents because of the new way that we parent, the coddling of the American mind, that they are geniuses and brilliant, who suddenly find themselves at about 20 years old at university, utterly not interesting people, not successful people, they're probably not very, how do you be dominant in today's world? You can't really. All you have is virtue. And how do you get virtue? When you're in a world that has found some semblance of, as we were talking about before, equality. We were doing pretty well. We were getting there. So what do? You have to keep going and find that extra thing. What were the feminists saying? Oh, they were saying that men and women are exactly the same. Well, maybe they are. And that's how you do it. You're all a bunch of transphobes.
How do you know they're not right? Or more right than you feel like they are, to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
We've had, you've already brought up that there has been, even among the medical elite and experts, I mean, eugenics was considered like the premier science that everyone from, I can't say these people and not scowl, but Margaret Sanger and George Bernard Shaw and all, I mean, like, it was the trust the science position, eugenics, in the United States, to such an extent that Hitler was like, oh, you guys got some good ideas over there. How do we know that the extent to which we claim our gender, our gendered nature, our sexual dimorphism is hardwired, that they don't have a point, that there isn't more fluidity than we feel like there is? Or like, is there, and have you found any part of this pro-gender fluid trans movement that you think has a healthy truth claim?
No, and I hate saying no because it's boring, and I want to be like, well, actually, the nuanced position is this. It's as I was saying with religion, it's a case of they have to prove it. This is about as extraordinary a claim as you can make. Like, that man, you see that man over there, he's actually a woman. Let me tell you why. But I've never seen the why. What is the why? I don't know what that why is. It always seems to be, well, it's a social construct. And you go, yeah, but what? And that's a thought-terminating cliche. A Scientologist would just say, yeah, it's a suppressive person. This is a social construct. Explain what that means.
Wait, that I've heard this term, thought-terminating
cliche.
What does that mean?
That is something that cults use, and cultish groups, as I was saying before, any community. And I think that's a good sign of a cultish community is when you shout something out and it becomes a slogan. I suppose it's a sloganization of politics, essentially, but it just means you no longer have to think because you've said the thing you're supposed to think or supposed to say, which is, in Scientology, they would just say, so you're a suppressive person. That's it. You don't need to say anything more.
So woke is kind of that.
It is, yeah. It is.
Just oh, they're woke, so therefore
that's why they hate it when you say that. But you need to be able to explain it. So that's the difference. So suppressive person, okay, that's what Scientology was saying. You would then say, but why? Yeah, but engage with what I'm saying. So it is a thought-terminating cliche, and I am guilty of using it by saying you're just woke. But I wouldn't say that in an argument. I would try and say, I think you're being woke, and I'll explain why.
Sure.
And so, yeah, what was the one we were saying before? Is one? Well, I don't know, but transphobe is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, racist, homophobes, all these things, all these isms that get thrown at people.
Explain it. Tell us why and what and what we've done, and then we can at least then have that debate, because otherwise we're just shouting slurs at one another.
If you like this clip, you should check out the full video and all the other great content we've got at Dad Saves America. So be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring that bell so you won't miss our new stuff as it drops each week.